July 16, 1985. In a quiet city in Punjab, India, a young woman named Sumitra Singh made a chilling prediction: she would die in exactly 3 days. And on July 19th, her words came true. After a sudden, unexplained fever, Sumitra collapsed. She lost consciousness, and to everyone around her, she was gone. Eyewitnesses swore her breathing had stopped, her pulse vanished, her face turned pale, drained of life for over 5 minutes. Her family began to grieve, but then the impossible happened. Sumitra came back. Only she wasn't Sumitra anymore. She spoke with a different voice, carried herself like a different person, and introduced herself with a new name, Shiva Tripathi. Not long after, the story exploded. The media swarmed in, headlines blared, and the public couldn't stop talking. Some were convinced this was it, a real-life case of reincarnation unfolding before their very eyes. You see, in Hindu mythology, reincarnation isn't just a belief. It's an ancient truth woven into centuries of tradition. The idea that a soul can be reborn, starting life anew in a different body, has existed in Indian culture for thousands of years. But for every believer, there was a skeptic. People who saw the Sumitra Singh case not as a miracle, but as a ploy, a carefully staged attempt to capture attention. So, what really happened to Sumitra Singh? And who was Shiva Tripathi? With these questions in mind, let's journey into the curious, unsettling story of the girl who may have come back from the dead. In the dusty heartlands of Uttar Pradesh, sometime around 1968, a girl named Sumitra was born, the daughter of a man from the small village of Angad Kanagla in the Etawah district. Her family belonged to the proud Thakur caste, warriors and landlords, a step below the revered Brahmins, yet still bound by centuries-old tradition. Her early years were marked by loss and separation. When Sumitra was just 11, tragedy struck. Her mother passed away. Long before that, she had already spent much of her childhood apart from her parents, sent to live with an older cousin in a neighboring district. This cousin, with only a year or two of schooling himself, taught her the bare basics of reading and writing. Formal education never entered her life. At 13, destiny took another turn. Her family arranged a marriage to Jagdish Singh of Sharifpura, and Sumitra began her life as a young bride. Her new husband, much like her father, was often away, working in Delhi, sometimes gone for months at a time. Life in the village was quiet, uneventful. But in December 1984, a new chapter began when Sumitra gave birth to her first child, a baby boy. No one could have imagined then that less than a year later, Sumitra's life and identity would take a turn into the unexplainable. Just a month or two after her son's birth, Sumitra would suddenly slip into a strange state, her eyes rolling back, her teeth clenching tight. Sometimes it lasted only minutes, other times an entire day. When she awoke, she often spoke of divine possession, claiming the goddess Santoshi Mata, whom she worshipped devoutly, had entered her body. But these were not the only voices that spoke through her. On one occasion, it was the spirit of a woman from Sharifpura who had drowned herself in a well. Another time, a man from a distant part of India. Each encounter was unsettling and unexplainable. Her family turned to local healers, desperate for answers. But no rituals, no prayers, no remedies made a difference. Then came the day everything changed. On July 16th, 1985, Sumitra told her family she would die in 3 days. They brushed it off as a strange remark, perhaps just another effect of her trances. But on the morning of July 19th, she developed a fever. By midday, she collapsed. Her breathing stopped. Her pulse faded away. Her face drained of blood. For at least 5 minutes, she appeared dead. Her family wept. Her husband mourned. The village began preparing for the rituals of death. And then, Sumitra opened her eyes. But this was not the same woman who had closed them. Her voice was different, her mannerisms unfamiliar. She told those gathered that she was not Sumitra, but a woman named Shiva Tripathi. Confusion swept through the family, and soon the entire village. Whispers turned to questions, questions to fear. All eyes turned to Sumitra, desperate for answers. And that's when she spoke. A story began to unravel on the life of Shiva Tripathi, one that would shake their beliefs and blur the line between life and death. Born on October 24, 1962, into a respected Brahmin family, Shiva was the daughter of Ram Siya Tripathi, a college lecturer. She grew up in the city of Etawah, educated, graceful, and ambitious. After earning a bachelor's degree in home economics, she stepped into marriage at just 18, an arranged union with Chedi Lal of Dibiapur, as tradition dictated. The couple would have 2 young sons, Rinku and Tinku, but life in her husband's home was far from peaceful. There was tension, deep, simmering tension, between Shiva and her in-laws. Some say they resented her education, her more urbane ways. Others, like psychologist Parmeshwar Dayal, believed the anger stemmed from something more material, a dowry they considered insufficient. Whatever the reason, the quarrels grew bitter. By late May 1985, the situation reached a breaking point. Shiva's in-laws forbade her from attending an important exam, or, according to another account, a family wedding. On the evening of May 18th, a maternal uncle by marriage visited. He found Shiva in tears, claiming her mother-in-law and sister-in-law had beaten her earlier that day. He tried to calm the storm, but the house was thick with hostility. The very next morning, tragedy struck. Word spread that Shiva's lifeless body had been found on the railway tracks near a station. Her in-laws said she had thrown herself in front of a train, but those who saw her body told a different story. According to her sister Uma, Shiva's head was bashed, her brains reduced to pulp, and yet the rest of her body was strangely intact. Her uncle begged them to wait for Shiva's father before cremating her. But while he was away fetching Ram Siya Tripathi, the in-laws moved quickly. They secured permission from local authorities, doused the body in fuel oil, and turned her to ash before her father could even say goodbye. Rumors swirled through Dibiapur, whispers that neighbors had seen the in-laws carrying her body through the darkness to the railway station. By the time her father arrived, there was nothing left but bone and ash. He went to the police. An inquiry began. Shiva's husband and father-in-law were arrested, but quickly released for lack of evidence. Her mother-in-law and sister-in-law went into hiding, only to be arrested months later. They too would walk free. The case collapsed in court, but in the streets and in the press, the shadow of suspicion never lifted. For many, there was no doubt Shiva Tripathi had been murdered. And yet, this was not the end of her story, because just 2 months later, hundreds of kilometers away, in another woman's body, Shiva would rise again. The details Sumitra gave were chillingly specific. Names of relatives, descriptions of her home, personal memories no stranger could know. When members of Shiva's family came to see her, She recognized them instantly. She embraced them as her own. Investigations into her claims revealed that a woman named Shiva had indeed died in Ladgaon under violent circumstances just before Sumitra's death and return. After 13 years, when researchers Satwant Pasricha, Antonia Mills, and Hemendra Nath Banerjee, along with journalist A.K. Diman, spoke to Sumitra's family in Sharafpura, they were told for 13 long years. Sumitra never came back. To her last breath, she remained Shiva. The exact date of Sumitra's real death may never be known. What we do know is that she left behind a trail of questions that no one has ever truly answered. Was this the soul of Shiva, reborn into Sumitra's body? A living example of reincarnation, just as described in the ancient Hindu scriptures? Or was it the human mind, fractured by trauma, crafting another identity? A phenomenon science has yet to understand. In the quiet villages of India, stories like this are not myths. They are lived realities, whispered by neighbors, remembered by families, and passed down through generations. But beyond those villages, for the rest of the world, the case of Sumitra Singh remains one of the most haunting, perplexing, and utterly unexplainable events ever recorded.
Sumitra allegedly became possessed by Shiva. We called unannounced at the isolated village where Sumitra lives. Sumitra agreed to talk to us, but made it very clear she was as certain as ever about her inner identity.
अच्छा, ये पूछना है तुमसे सुमित्रा मैंने कि
नहीं, सुमित्रा मत बोलो मुझसे।
हाँ, अभी शिवा ही हो तुम?
हाँ, क्यों? क्या होकर के इस दुनिया में जो पैदा हो जाता है, हाँ, वो क्या बार बार बदल जाता है बहन जी?
अच्छा, नहीं, पहले बदल चुकी हो ना तुम, इसलिए
नहीं, तो मैं एक बार जब बदल चुकी हूँ, जब मैं एक बार शिवा हो चुकी हूँ, तो क्या बार बार सुमित्रा बन सकती हूँ?
तुम अभी शिवा ही हो?
हाँ, और क्या सुमित्रा बन जाऊंगी?
तो सुमित्रा के बारे में तुम कोई बात याद है?
नहीं है, नहीं है, वो मैंने पहले ही कहा, वो अब कह रही हूँ।
शिवा के बारे में तो तुम्हें क्या क्या याद है?
वो पहले बता चुकी हूँ, जैसे बचपन से, हाँ, 2 बच्चे हैं, वो भी आप जानती हो। अच्छा, हाँ, जैसे खत्म हुई थी वो भी मैंने बता दिया था।